been nearly 2 years since Harley released the Pan America, and some people love it and some people don't. If you ask Harley, and if your measurement is sales, it's been a really big success. And hopefully Harley carries this into their future. Since it's been 2 years since it's been released, and now we're approaching the 3rd year of this model, I thought it'd be fun to go back and look at all of your comments, your predictions, what you thought the bike would be like, what you thought Harley would be like as a company with this bike. And I printed out all your comments. I promise you I'm not going to make you read them on these sheets of paper here. I'll put them down here, someplace down here, make it a little fancy for you. This first comment is about looks, and we've known what the Pan America would look like as early as 2018, but shortly before the release in February 2021, we really got a good look at the bike. North of You 1 says, it's ugly in a cuddly kind of way. I mean, the BMW is not exactly Marilyn Monroe in the looks department. I will say, this thing intrigues me. It's a would buy, in quotes, would buy, if they can keep it under the cost of the Beamer. There's a lot packed in a very little bit here. The Pan America is one of those bikes where you look at it and you love it or you hate the looks. And North of You 1 is not wrong. Adventure bikes, like the BMW and other adventure bikes, they're not the sexiest of bikes. They're definitely purposeful driven. And North of You 1 does say it's a would buy if it can keep it under the cost of the Beamer. Well, the R1250 GS without all the bells and whistles is right around that same price. Let's talk more about some of the looks. Pavel, I'm not even going to pronounce this last name. I'll just say Pavel for now. I'm sorry for not being able to pronounce your last name. But Pavel, I love this comment. It's so hilarious. Well, that Pan America somewhat looks cool. Here's someone who's on the side that the Pan America is a cool looking bike. Well, that Pan America looks somewhat cool, like a 2-wheeled MRAP truck or something. If you don't know what an MRAP is, it's a military vehicle. I'll show you some pictures down below here. I like this comparison rather than all the other ones that I've seen, like a Hoover vacuum cleaner or the robot from that one show. But here's the really funny part. But I'm afraid it will cost like an actual MRAP truck, so I don't think it'll be a bestseller. The bike is expensive. Don't get me wrong there. Pavel's spot on about that. People want something and they have the money for it. Something is going to be a bestseller. That cost has not deterred a lot of people who want to get into adventure riding. Let's get into some comments about Harley as a company. Roy Tong says, give HD a chance to try. This comes on the heels of a lot of criticism for how we know Harley as a company over the last 120 years. At the time, 118. Give HD a chance to try. Porsche wanted to make an SUV. Everybody laughed about that. But if you don't know, the Porsche Cayenne SUV, everybody really thought that was a mistake for Porsche to do. Now it's one of their best sellers. People wanted a Porsche, they wanted to take their family along, they wanted an SUV. It's really successfly. Roy or myself are not comparing the Pan America to an SUV. Well, maybe we should. Our adventure bikes, SUVs, leave some comments down below, let me know. But he's not wrong. Porsche went out on a limb here, made an SUV, and it became hugely successful. I'm hoping the same thing is happening with Harley here. This next comment has a lot of good foresight in it as Harley as a company and their plans. Ever the Warrior here says, I'm thinking they're pushing this bike, the Pan America, to test the new 1250 so they can revamp their Sportster lineup. Work out any of the problems with the engine in this bike, meaning the 1250. If it fails, they can be like, hey, we are Harley, what did you expect? If it succeeds, they are like, we are Harley, of course we're going to knock it out of the park. Either way, they will drop that engine into the Sportster-style motorcycles in 2022 or 2023. This comment was made a little over 2 years ago in November or December of 2020. This is great foresight because that's exactly what happened. Sportster S, well, to me, it's not really much like a Sportster. It may hold the Sportster name, but that engine is in the Sportster S. And then the Nightster, the 2022 Nightster. That bike has a Rev Max, the 975, and while it doesn't look exactly like the Evo Sportsters that we know and love, it is much closer than the Sportster S. So yes, Ever the Warrior was exactly right. This is exactly what they were doing. This is exactly what they're planning. And I'm hoping that they'll expand the Rev Max Sportster lineup over the years. That's some really good foresight there. I like that comment a lot. Here's another funny comment about Harley as a company and its reliability. And there's a lot of guys who've owned the Pan America who may be highlighting this comment as I would be too. Adam Harris here says, we already have unreliable BMW adventure bikes. We might as well have some unreliable Harley Davidson adventure bikes. Just kidding. I'm excited and I hope it goes well. Every bike manufacturer has issues, especially with newer models. And there's been some electrical issues with the Pan America. A lot of riders are hoping they've gotten sorted out with some updates, and I'm going to take mine in soon for that very same update. But there has been some glitches for a while here. Early on, especially on the 2021 models. This next comment from Wally Walton really bridges Harley as a company and talking about the looks and bridges into the next thing I want to talk about, the weight of the bike. At this point, nobody knew how heavy it was going to be. Okay, this is a lengthy comment here, so I'm going to need a deep breath. Wally Walton says, your title says it all, and I'm sure when these overpriced adventure tanks make it to dealers, they will sell like hotcakes for a short while, as all the status junkies would try to be the first kid on the block to have one sitting in the garage to brag about. Maybe he's not wrong about that. Then once real adventure bike riders actually try to ride these elephants off-road and find out they need a tow truck to pick it up after they drop it in the rough stuff, they will fade away quickly. Fade away meaning sales will fade away quickly. I'm not so sure about that because the BMW is, 50 pounds heavier than the Pan America? HD still doesn't get what many people want. Smaller, lighter, less expensive motorcycles. Not these behemoths that can only be moved around by apes. That's why Royal Enfield is doing well these days. Maybe in some markets like India, but not hugely successful here. And hey HD, there are other types of internal combustion engines that run much better than V-twins. Perhaps because you use the same shitty engine in every model every year for the last 100 years has something to do with your failure as of late. Everything has to evolve sooner or later or go extinct. Your refusal to change will inevitably be your demise. Who cares? There's a lot here. I think Wally's right about some things and wrong about some other things. Yeah. A lot of adventure bike purchases are just because people want to brag that they have the biggest, most expensive bike. That is 100% true. But others, they are passionate about these adventure bikes and what they can do, their versatility. And I will say I'm one of them that wants to own them because they are so versatile. And I've owned several adventure bikes now, including the Pan America. At the time that Wally wrote this, they were still going through the More Roads initiative. This is before Johan Seitz took over and completely eliminated a whole bunch of models that would have this Revolution Max engine in it. So previously, when Wally made this comment, Harley was trying to evolve, was trying to get more riders. Now they've kind of backtracked and they're doing the Rewire initiative, and now they've fallen back on what they know. Their cruiser models, what they know they can sell well currently. And they've stepped away from the future. While Wally's right, now, he wasn't right at the time. What's important here in Wally's comment is that HD does not understand what people want. Smaller, lighter, less expensive motorcycles. And right now, that's the middleweight adventure bikes. The T7, the Tiger 900, or even a little bit lighter bikes like the CRF 300L, the Rally. People want to be able to ride these things off-road. Not everybody can ride these behemoths off-road. Here's another one talking about the size of these bikes. At the time, nobody knew about the weight of the Pan America. But still, these bikes, from KTM to BMW to the Africa Twin even, these bikes are really heavy and difficult to ride off-road. Alan Higg says, Harley are a bit late to the party. Even worse, the big manufacturers like BMW, KTM, are moving to smaller and lighter bikes. With so many rider aids, you could get lost. I like Harleys. My next bike's going to be a Road King, but I hope Harley get their act sorted out soon. They seem to have lost the plot big time. Alan's not wrong about this. Middleweight adventure bikes are the hottest selling bikes in all of motorcycling right now. And the fact that Harley hasn't released a middleweight bike, their focus on the 975 seems to be misguided. And it seems like they're delaying or outright canceling the 975. Which is a huge mistake. Robert Polkamp has some very similar thoughts here. HD kicks the door in with this monstrosity, while the entire party is reconsidering their past decisions with the advent of the Yamaha T7. At twice the engine size, double the weight, and of course 3 times the price, it is difficult to accept Harley newcomers to the party when they obviously haven't been paying attention. Pan America has been hugely popular as far as adventure bikes go and adventure bike sales. But Robert's not wrong. T7 really shook up the market, and that bike, with the price and the weight and the versatility, it's a great bike, and it kind of set the standard for every other manufacturer to look at and say, we should really challenge the T7 with what we're doing. But other manufacturers are focused on selling middleweight bikes because that's what riders want. Harley's not doing it, and it looks like they're not going to be doing it anytime soon. Let's move on to one of the more challenging topics, Harley as a culture, and having that culture, or outside of that culture, accepting a Harley adventure bike. Robbie Clark here has one of the more interesting comments on this subject. Mind you, this is 2 years ago, before Harley released the Pan America, where none of us knew what to expect, truly knew what to expect. He says, "I just don't see it working out. I mean, it's Harley Davidson. The people who ride adventure bikes cringe at that name." He's not wrong. Anytime after Harley announced from 2018 until they released the Pan America, every adventure bike rider that I talked to or communicated with in some way over social media was not even a little bit impressed that Harley was doing this. They make fun of Harley riders for no other reason than they are Harleys. I hope it works out, but faithful HD riders will feel left out, and the market HD wants to reach wouldn't ride a Harley if you literally gave it to them. I would love to try out an adventure bike and really dig Harley. And Robbie says he owns an Iron 883. But I'm not wealthy enough to go check out the new Pan America, so I'm out. Anyway, I hope it works out for the sake of more and better Harley Davidson motorcycles. It might not be a bad idea to upgrade some of the current models people are already buying and move them into this century. It seems like a lot of people who were riding BMWs or who were looking at BMWs looked at the Pan America and ultimately bought one. But also, surprising to me, was a lot of Harley touring and cruiser riders traded those big bikes in for the Pan America. For the first time, because it was a Harley, the Harley faithful thought, okay, I can get into adventure riding. And that is what I noticed. That is what I've seen. A lot of guys who I know would never buy an Africa Twin, or who would never buy the big BMW or a KTM, bought the Pan America for the only reason that they wanted to get into adventure bike riding, but they were Harley faithful. And you can criticize that all you want. Sometimes brand loyalty is very important to people. And this helped get cruiser riders and touring riders into adventure bike riding, and that is a good thing. And this next comment really showcases that. This is from my good friend Amanda from As the Magpie Flies. And I love this comment because it's spot on, and it's before Harley released the bike and before we knew who would be buying the bikes and who wouldn't. She says, "If nothing else, I hope it at least piques the ears of a few diehard Harley people to dip their toes into the ADV world and find out what it's all about. And that you don't have to be allergic to the dirt." She's spot on about this. And when I started riding in the dirt for the first time, it opened up a whole new motorcycling world for me that I only experienced previously on mountain bikes and gravel bikes. So she's spot on. And this is exactly what's happened. Like I mentioned earlier, based on Robbie's comment, for a lot of guys who'd only ride their Harleys on the road, finally got into some of the off-road riding that is so much fun. But Amanda, she's right about that, and that's exactly what's happened, and it's really cool to see. Richard Smith has a very similar comment here to Robbie's. He says, "I traded my Harley for a Triumph Tiger 1200. Even picked that over the BMW since it was more comfortable to me. I would like for this bike to do well, but a Harley dude isn't going to buy an ADV bike, and an ADV rider most likely won't buy a Harley. Overall, it should be interesting to see what happens." In my opinion, what's happened is just the opposite. Harley riders have been buying the Pan America, and a lot of ADV riders, largely because of that engine, that Revolution Max engine. They have been buying the Pan America, and it's cool to see these two cultures merging and enjoying the same type of riding. There were a ton of comments between two different videos that I did before Harley released the Pan America about the potential weight. When we had no clue that it'd be, 562 pounds, I got the actual weight of the Pan America Special right here. And I said it was a good thing that they're making it chain driven because that would keep the weight down. While it's still a heavy bike, it is not as heavy as a lot of people were saying. I had one guy and I go back and forth for about 10 different comments about why we thought the weight would be. I was hoping that it would be 550 or less, or at least around 550. And this guy I was going back and forth with said it would be well over 600 pounds for an adventure bike, which is heavier than the heaviest adventure bike, the BMW. And his final comment was, after I gave all my reasons, was, "Well, we shall see. It's probably going to be more than 600 pounds. came out much less, and I wanted to come back to that comment and do a video like this to showcase this. But shortly after the Pan America came out, he deleted the comment. So I have no proof of this, and for all you know, I could be making this up. But I'm very happy that the bike is much less than most people were thinking that it would be. Even though it's still a behemoth, it's much, much lighter than everybody expected it to be. And finally, I am gonna read you my favorite comment. So this is 2 years ago before the Pan America came out. Whip Mesa had a comment on one of my videos in November, December of 2020. She exclaimed, "Wahoo! Moto Talk." I took a bit of a hiatus, so she was excited that I was coming back to Moto Talk. And she says here, "I would absolutely love to ride this bike." If you follow Whit, you know that she got this bike from Harley, and she did a 50-state trip in a very short period of time. And Harley gave her that bike to use, to borrow, and she had to give it back. And now I see on her channel that she has that bike. She owns it. So it's actually cool to see that Whit was interested in this bike on my channel before she connected with Harley and got that bike for her big trip. If you haven't seen Whit's videos, go ahead and check out her channel. Her endurance on her long rides in short periods of time is nothing short of amazing, and it's so much fun to watch. Check her out. Is the Pan America what you expected before it came out? Or have you been, like me, pleasantly surprised on the weight, on its capabilities, on its versatility, on who's riding it, and what Harley is doing as a company? I really wish that they would step forward into the future with a middleweight bike in the 975. I hope the rumors aren't true. I hope it's not canceled. I hope they continue with it. We shall see. Let me know in your comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.